Never underestimate the power of that old devil nostalgia. Oh, we'll trick you alright. Twist your memory. Present you with a version of the world you want, nay need, to revisit. If only for the briefest of moments. But the thing is, it isn't real, and you do very well to remember that.
I don't care what your name is, everyone, and I mean everyone, is susceptible to nostalgia, which is exactly why nostalgia can be so dangerous when put into the wrong hands. Worryingly for you and me, it's become huge business of late, not least in the land of video games. This week has seen news of two leviathans from yesteryear rearing their heads. The first, the Spectrum Next, careened past its £250,000 crowdfunding goal in less than 48 hours, while the second, a HD remaster of cult shocker Night Trap, has generated almost as much buzz as it did the first time around, albeit for wholly different reasons. That, folks, is the power of nostalgia. It's nothing new, of course. Business minds have been plundering the pockets of us sentimental buffoons for an age. Coca-Cola are masters of it. Its use of 1950s-era bottles and oldie-timey depictions of Santa Claus cut right to the core of our cold and black nostalgic hearts. Because Coke understands that nostalgia is less about the product itself and more so about the feelings it evokes in the consumers that it targets. Which is exactly why nostalgia-driven campaigns work so well in the arena of video games. Take Nintendo's recent release, or was it rationing, of its NES Classic mini console. It's a piece of tech painfully marred by its shortcomings. Yes, I'm talking to you comically short controller lead. From a design standpoint, it's the equivalent of installing a mains adapter on a Badger. Which is to say, it makes zero fucking sense. The unit was always going to sell a ton, that was never really in doubt. The interesting phenomena I found puzzling was the deluded souls who defended the NES Classic for its inexcusable decision to ship a controller with a lead shorter than an Oompa Loompa's dick. Because apparently, that's the way we used to play, cross-legged, our faces but inches from the screen. Yes, we did. We did. It's not, however, something that I want to repeat, because these days, I'm a fucking adult. The defence of Leadgate is delusional, frankly, but it's a delusion rooted in a very powerful force. That's right, it's nostalgia. The Spectrum Next is undeniably an interesting proposition, that really can't be denied. Furthermore, there's clearly a market for the hardware on offer. The elephant in the room with regards to the Next is the controversial matter of the Spectrum Vega. For those of you that don't know, the Vega is a handsome looking portable console designed and created using the spirit of Sir Clive Sinclair's groundbreaking ZX Spectrum computer. Or at least it was supposed to be. The unit enjoyed an extremely successful Indiegogo campaign, raising a massive £512,000 in orders, 266% over its original goal. Unfortunately for all those people that have backed the product, there's still no sign of the product itself. Furthermore, the company behind the Vega has employed a strategy of less is more, and by that I mean almost nothing, with regards to updating patrons on the console's progress. It's all just felt a little bit shady, and has left an undeniably bad taste in the mouth with regards to the product. Now, it's important to stress the Spectrum Next is in no way tied to the Spectrum Vega. It's two very different companies creating two very different products, so it's perhaps a little bit unfair to talk about the pair in the same sitting. However, I can't help but feel, even with that information, as a consumer, I'd still be hesitant to back a second Spectrum-based product, while the memory of another, one marred in controversy no less, is still so fresh in the memory. Perhaps it's just me, or rather clearly it is, because in spite of the Vega's troubles, the Spectrum Next has smashed its crowdfunding goals. A case of overwhelming faith in the team developing it, or that old devil nostalgia? You be the judge. Released in '92 for Sega's not-so-mega CD, Night Trap became famous as one of the games cited in the US congressional hearings concerning violence in video games. Commentators at the time called it shameful, ultra-violent, and downright sick. I think it's safe to assume none of them actually played the game itself, because if they had, they would have simply referred to it as shitmongus. Night Trap is a bad game. It's a really, really bad game. Sure, the use of live-action FMV sequences was novel at the time of release, but then so too was the idea of a 3D Sonic game. Didn't make it any less of a stinky floating turd. Despite the infamy it enjoyed, Night Trap wasn't even all that risque. Yes, a few girls get grabbed here and there, but there's no nudity or extreme acts of violence. It's really pretty tame, especially when compared to today's morally bankrupt standards.
Lena wins. Fatality.
So here's a game that doesn't play well, and whose original claim to fame, a shitstorm of controversy, is no longer relevant. Why or why then would anyone wish to get behind such a project? The answer, friends, is simple. And if you've not got it now, you really should. It's nostalgia. Again. Just like the senators who inappropriately deemed the game disgusting, most people that remember Night Trap never actually played the game itself. It remains a cultural milestone not because it won the hearts of the gamers that played it, but because it was a game that gained a mythical aura. Its ability to shock and horrify parents was downright fascinating, and it made the idea of getting your hands on a copy all the more tantalising. For a time, Night Trap was the video game industry's forbidden fruit, ridiculous as that might sound in 2017, and because of that, it has long lived in the memories of a generation of video games players. That memory has had decades to germinate. Those gamers have grown up. I was one of them. And in spite of all the retrospective reviews labelling it as undeniable trash, there's still an element inside us that can't help but gravitate towards wanting to experience the game firsthand. Pathetic little moths drawn to the most mediocre of flames. The fuel for this flame? Go on. Go on. It's nostalgia. Every time it's nostalgia. The entire leitmotif of this video? Nostalgia. Are we done? We done. Nostalgia. 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 With Night Trap, it isn't the idea of playing the game itself that will draw people in. Instead, it's the possibilities it offers in transporting us sentimental old crones back to a place in time where shock and awe were heady currency, where video games existed not as mindless escapism, but as gateways to other worlds, to a time when saving the princess was the only responsibility with any resonance. You can't get back those times, but what you can do is buy a little piece of them, and it's something the video games industry is only too happy to exploit. Reliving positive memories feels undeniably good, but it leaves us receptive to brand messaging. When we feel or care for something, we're much more likely to act upon it, which is to say put our money where our memory is. In brand marketing, reaching people on an emotional level is considered the holy grail, and based on the deluge of products currently mining the pits of 80s and 90s pop culture, it's a policy I imagine is only going to go up in gears from here on out. Witnessing the commodification of your childhood is a strange experience to have to sit through, and one I can't help but feel is making me more than a little cynical regarding it all. Of course, it's only normal to look back on those golden days with a dewy-eyed sense of longing, but it's important to not allow yourself to be swallowed up by it completely, because ultimately, it might just be holding you back from the rest of your life. Until next time, kids, peace.